Why does my wireless mouse stop working randomly? Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. Here's the question. At least 3 times a week, my mouse will stop responding. Anything that I was doing will lock up and all I can get to work is Control-Alt-Delete and Task Manager. Task Manager displays the program but doesn't indicate what's stalling the mouse, at least no indication that I can tell. I'm running Windows 7 Pro fully updated. It doesn't matter which wireless mouse I use, the Logitech or the HP. It does not appear to be a program or application centric, and it happens in various programs. Any thoughts? Yes, I have several ideas, as I do. But before we start, I do have a question for you. When you say that the mouse is freezing, are you certain it isn't your entire computer that's freezing? Now, I realize you said you're able to get to Task Manager with Control-Alt-Delete, but can you do anything else with the keyboard? For example, does Alt-Tab or Control-Escape do anything at all? They should bring up the task switcher or the start menu, respectively. If they do, then your computer's probably running and the issue is limited to the mouse. But if your mouse stops working and the pointer doesn't move at all, clicking does nothing, and you can't type into your computer at all, it's possible that the computer itself has frozen or crashed. That means looking at the mouse might not help because that might be a different problem. If that's the case, though, I would have you check out my article, Why Does My Computer Crash Randomly? So, for the moment, let's continue with the assumption that it's actually the mouse. When you're dealing with a wireless mouse, my first recommendation, number 1 on the list, always check the battery. Now, I realize you have used 2 different wireless mice. So it's not necessarily likely to be the issue, but it is definitely something worth checking out. If the wireless signal gets weak because the battery is too low, then yeah, the mouse just stops working, and this can manifest intermittently. Another problem is electrical or radio interference. These days, almost any device from your Wi-Fi router to your microwave to your cordless or mobile phone, they can cause all kinds of interference, particularly if the signal to and from the wireless mouse is weak from a low battery. You may want to test your mouse with other electrical devices removed or turned off to make sure that those devices aren't transmitting a large amount of radio interference. Now, I don't know how your computer is set up or how you feel comfortable working, but it's possible that the mouse may simply be too far from its receiver. That could be an internal to the computer receiver, or it can be this tiny external USB dongle. You can check this by putting your mouse close to the receiver. Roll the mouse, see if the pointer is in sync on your monitor, and then move the mouse further away from the receiver as you continue to check. Once the mouse stops responding, well, yeah, you're too far away. If this is the case, and you don't want to reorganize your workspace, one approach is to purchase a USB extension cord. I did this for a long time with my desktop because at the time it was just too far away. I ran the extension up to and just below my monitor and plugged the USB dongle or Bluetooth adapter, whatever it was, into that. With that in place, the receiver was just inches away from my mouse. Now, once you get past batteries and signals and proximity, you do need to start looking at the mouse itself and its software. Your mouse should always have the latest drivers for either your machine, in this case HP, or its manufacturer, Logitech. In your case, I suspect that drivers are not the problem, but nonetheless, if the problem continues, you'll want to make sure that you cross this off the troubleshooting list. When all else fails, the most effective thing you can do is to try another mouse. In particular, get a corded mouse. If that mouse works consistently without crashing, then there's something wrong with the wireless mouse. Given that you're not relying on wireless with a corded mouse, it could be wireless related, or it could be some other problem with the mouse's hardware. If the corded mouse doesn't work, then there's something else going on. That's when we go back to my theory that it's the computer that's actually crashing and not just your mouse. In that case, the mouse pointer no longer moving could be an indication that there's a bigger problem afoot. And I do want to mention that a corded solution is a very real solution because it's what I have. I'm using a corded mouse. And I do that simply because It's less problematic than a wireless mouse in my situation. So, when you're diagnosing mouse-related problems, check the battery, try another mouse, try a corded mouse, and then look for larger, non-mouse related issues. For updates, for comments, for links related to this topic and more, visit askleo.com/7398. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.